Welcome to the CEO Hour with Dean Akers. The mission to help CEOs and startups succeed in today's marketplace. Entrepreneur or established CEO, is your business growing? Where's your business going? Let's talk about it with your host, Dean Akers.
Well, welcome to the CEO Hour. This is Dean Akers, your host and the adjunct CEO. Each week, we bring you a successful CEO to share their journey and ideas that have helped them or impacted them. And it's real important because the reason we do this show is so that you have one great takeaway each week that will help you in your business or personal life. So I'd like to welcome this week's guest. I mean, she's a total rock star. It's Jessica Muroff. She's the CEO of the Girl Scouts of West Central Florida, but that's cool in and of itself. But it's really cool, her journey and how she lands to be on our show today. Welcome, Jessica.
Thank you, Dean. I'm happy to be here.
Well, so you were born in you were born in New York City or Boston or what big city?
Texas. On an Air Force base.
Yeah. Were you really?
Yes. No, I'm the daughter of a young man who went off to the Air Force and was born in a small Air Force base called Wichita Falls, Texas. I think we lived there for 3 months before we moved, but yeah, no, small little town in Texas.
Well, that's actually a pretty important Air Force base,
yes,
isn't it?
Yes, I actually don't know the details now, but we went to the Philippines after that.
So you went to the Philippines as a young child?
A baby, yes, as a baby.
Do you remember ever being there?
No. This was I think I was 1 or 2 years old. I have great pictures, but no actual memories.
So where did your journey? So your dad gets transferred to the Philippines, and then where did the journey take you?
So I mean, to several different towns in the southeast. I mean, we went from the Philippines, if I'm remembering this correctly, to Warner Robins in Georgia. And then back to Tampa so that my sister could be born. And then my dad went to air traffic controller school in Biloxi, Mississippi. And so we lived there for a little bit and then moved to Orlando where he had his first job as an ATC. So that's what he spent his life doing, is being an air traffic controller.
Wow, what an interesting journey.
It's he's awesome. Now he's retired and now he does what he's called an air boss. Isn't that the coolest job title ever? He's an air boss.
So what does an air boss do?
He basically goes to air shows all across the country and is their air traffic controller, is the man in charge of the sky and talking to the pilots during the air show. I've actually been able to go to a couple of them and watch him in action. It's really cool.
Well, I'm a former pilot. I mean, I still have my pilot's license. You have till you die. But so he's done obviously Sun and Fun, but has he ever done Oshkosh?
I don't think he's done Oshkosh. Well, actually, I take that back. I can't remember exactly, but he's done Evansville, Indiana. Wow. He's done the one in Tavares, Florida, which is a splash in. It's so super cool. But I do remember growing up, he would work the midnight shift. Now, of course, this could never happen nowadays. But he worked the midnight shift and it was like a treat to take us with him to work. And we'd go up in the tower in the middle of the night with him as he's directing in planes. And we would, I hope I'm not getting him in trouble by sharing this information. When I was a child, he would take me to what is now a deeply restricted area. But he would do funny things like that. If I had to have a plane ride and he knew about it and he was working, he would tell the pilot to embarrass me on the plane.
How cool is that?
Yeah, it was awesome. I had a number of times where the pilot would invite me to sit in the jump seat on takeoff and landing. Could never happen in a million years now, but before 9/11 and all of that. But that's what my dad did for me. So
your early childhood probably set the definitions of who you are today.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, my mom had a farm in Plant City. That's where I spent most of my. That's where I was graduated from high school. And so and I thank her every day because it was a lot of work. Growing up on a farm with horses and I called, I say Noah's Ark. My mom had every animal under the sun. We're talking hedgehogs, snakes, goats, chickens, cats, dogs, horses, miniature horses, goats, the whole 9 yards. It's a lot of work to take care of those things. before school and after school, and to take care of the house. And so I really do think that my hard work, my ability not to be scared to get dirty or to do really hard and tough things. And, I think that's all because of growing up on a farm.
Well, I would wonder if you really had much choice.
I didn't. No, I didn't.
When we get older, when we tell our kids, it's always, well, you don't realize what all I did. I'm not so sure that we were sitting around going, can I get up this morning and make sure the chickens are fed?
Oh, no, Dean, you hit the nail on the head. I can tell you right now, when I was growing up, I definitely did not have this perspective. I was like, why on earth why can't I be like watching TV or having fun with my friends? Why am I scrubbing stalls and taking care of my animals? Yes, my perspective is much different now.
Well, I think those early years, that's what's so fun about this show, by the way. You and I have known each other for a while. You're a successful CEO in this area. You've done a number of different things. You're on every charity thing that you can be on, chamber thing you can be on. But it's really cool for me to learn those pieces of a journey. Because think about moving around like you did. How old were you before you finally kind of settled down?
8th grade.
Yeah. So you had to learn to adapt everywhere you moved.
Absolutely. Yes.
And most people don't ever really get that experience.
No.
So that was invaluable as part of your journey and how you end up. So now you're going to Plant City High School. And by the way, I grew up in Lakeland. So,
okay.
We used to come to Plant City to meet all the pretty girls.
There were a lot of pretty girls in Plant City.
There were a lot of pretty girls, and there probably still are.
Yes.
But
there's something in the water there.
Exactly. It's all the strawberries and clean living and everything else. Yeah. But so now you're in high school. You went to Plant City High School?
I did, yes.
And then you graduate. Now what? Where does your journey take you?
So, to the University of South Florida. I was unsure of what college was going to be for me, and so decided to go to USF. And that was the best decision that I ever made. Not going to it was 25 years ago considered more of a commuter school than one that had a what I would call like an up and coming really involved student life on campus. Things that it was a time at USF where things were rapidly changing for it to becoming the world-class university that it is today. And so being a part of that transition and that journey for USF was that was the best decision I ever made in my life, to go to USF and to be able to experience and be a part of all of that.
Well, 2 of my sons are USF Bulls, and of course, I grew up in Tampa Bay area. Now, I have to be honest with you. I'm a Gator. So.
Okay. My sister is too. It's okay.
Well, you talk about transitions.
Yeah.
When I went to the University of Florida, it was 1970. Mm-hmm. And to get in, you had to fog a mirror. Now you have to have like a 5.9 million weighted average or something. They wouldn't even let me clean stalls in the bathroom there now. But anyway, so you go to USF. Did you live on campus or did you commute?
I did. No, I lived on campus. I commuted a couple of times, but predominantly lived on campus. I joined a sorority and immediately became involved in things. In fact, I was so I almost consider myself kind of crazy, but this is just kind of that fearless person that I am. But I became involved in a lot of things, trying to kind of figure out what I wanted to be and do at USF. And even in my freshman year, I ran for student body vice president on a ticket with a young man. He recently passed away, unfortunately, Bryant Faison, who asked me to be his running mate. And I mean, people literally told me, you're a freshman, this is the end of my freshman year. That's just crazy. Nobody does that. And of course we lost. But it was a tremendous experience that I really do think prepared me for 2 years later for actually running for student body president and beating an incumbent and winning.
That had to be pretty crazy back in those days, because as we talk about more and more equality today, and I watch these debates on TV, and everybody's reflecting back 20 and 30 years ago, and they're acting like, oh my gosh, 20 years or 30 or 40 years ago when I was in school. Actually, yeah, more than that. And they reflect back on what was going on then. it was just going on then. So you were an early pioneer, but not like because you were female or not male or whatever. You just had the drive to serve.
That's right.
And that drive was gender neutral, probably.
It was, absolutely. Yes.
And I think, having known you, I think that's what's so powerful. In fact, that's, when we come back here in a few minutes on some of the segments about Girl Scouts, I think that's one of the powers you bring to that whole organization, the fact that you bring just, let's go out and do this, and you really bring that. So now you're USF president. We're going to go into the second segment here in a few minutes, and I'd like to hear a little bit about that, because that had to be an interesting journey as a female president of the student body of a large university in the state of Florida. So this is Dean Akers, your host of the Adjunct CEO Hour, or the CEO Hour. I am the adjunct CEO. I confuse myself so many times. That's the beauty of being 67 years old. I also want to remind the listeners about our $10,000 physical. We have a CEO physical, that the $10,000 value that we've had a number of people take advantage of. And all you have to do is go help@adjunctceo.com, send an email to help@adjunctceo.com. When you send that, we'll send you that CEO physical. It's a $10,000 value if we have one of our adjunct CEOs help you, but we do it for free to help out the people that listen to this show. So in the next segment, we're going to come back and visit more with Miss Jessica and learn more about her awesome journey. See you next segment.
The CEO Hour with your host, Dean Akers, will be right back. Connect at deanakers.com. So, you're a tech startup. You're working hard, trying to make it happen with big ideas, big dreams, and a small budget. You need to connect with people in the same boat. Now is the time to join the early stage startup group, the Innovation Center, an incubator for early stage tech firms. You can find them at tbinnovates.com. Now operating for over 14 years, the Innovation Center is a regional, national, and internationally known success story, continuing to generate momentum in Pinellas County. Twice, the Innovation Center has won the Tampa Bay Technology Forum's Excellence in Service Award and has been recognized by Entrepreneur.com as a top 10 international business incubator. And now, Tech Garage, a technology and entrepreneurship center, has joined forces with the Innovation Center to provide a co-working program in downtown St. Petersburg. Connect with the startup community. Connect with the Innovation Center. Go to tbinnovates.com. That's tbinnovates.com. And tell them the Adjunct CEO sent you.
If you're a CEO or organizational leader looking to expand your business, join the CEO Council, where you'll meet and exchange ideas with fellow CEOs without the pressures of a sales network environment. You can join today by sending an email to application@adjunctceo.com. The CEO Council is comprised of over 220 fantastic local business leaders you'll be able to learn from because they walk in your shoes every day. When you become a member of the CEO Council, you'll have an opportunity to build trusted relationships during the roundtable meetings, share your triumphs, vet ideas, and work through business challenges with peers who can provide real-world business solutions. The CEO Council offers opportunities to hear from world-renowned speakers that inspire ideas to help members grow as both leaders and individuals. Join the CEO Council. Request your CEO Council membership application today at adjunctceo.com or by sending email to application@adjunctceo.com. That's application@adjunctceo.com.
Welcome back to the CEO Hour, helping your business succeed in today's marketplace. Connect at deanakers.com. And now your host, Dean Akers.
Well, welcome back to segment 2 of the CEO Hour. This is Dean Akers, your host and your adjunct CEO, bringing you this show every Saturday trying to work on bringing a solution or an idea that'll help our listeners out there with both their personal or their personal and business life. And I tell you what, this has been such a pleasure. People ask me, why do I do this show? And I love helping other entrepreneurs and business leaders out in the community, and I've been doing it for, 25, 30 years. But the real value in this show for me is getting to spend an hour with our awesome guests. And today we have Jessica Muroff, who's the CEO of the Girl Scouts in this region, and she's a rock star. If the first segment, again, I find stuff out I never knew, and to be a road warrior like you were, to travel all over the world growing up as a young lady, and then to make Tampa your home, and you were sharing in the break that your parents were actually born here.
Yes.
And so where did they go to high school?
Plant High School. They both graduated from Plant High School.
Really?
Yes.
Now,
my aunts and uncles, everybody.
What year did they graduate?
Oh, I don't know. And they'd probably kill me if I shared.
Well, because I would say they've got to be about my age.
I think they're a little younger, but yes.
Oh, they're younger than me?
Yes.
Now you made me really feel bad. Yeah.
That's why they probably don't want me to share.
Yeah, Jessica's going, Dean, you're older than dirt.
No.
But that's okay. I got 5 sons. I got to tell you, Father's Day this year, my sons gave me like 4 glasses of wine. And then I have a podcast program where they use the software and after 4 glasses of wine, asked me questions they wanted to ask me all my life.
Oh, that's hysterical.
Oh, it was crazy because it's a video.
Are they publishing this?
No. No. I think we have that one in the can. Well, anyway, welcome back, Jessica, CEO of Girl Scouts. She's now student body president at USF. How big a deal was that?
It was
in
a
that
huge
time?
deal. It was a huge deal. In fact, with my election, this was, and thank God, I say thank God for this. This was really, well, it dates me too, but before the time of the internet. So we didn't have a website. This was all very grassroots, and the campaign was. And we actually won with the largest amount of votes ever given in an election up to that point in time. Of course, that's just, it keeps growing every year. But so I was really proud of that. I was proud that I beat an incumbent, and he's an awesome person. We're still great friends today. We tease each other all the time about this, but it was a absolutely fantastic experience. The university president at the time was Betty Castor.
Well, I was going to ask you.
Yes, this was just before Judy, and Betty was just, and Kathy Betancourt was the the governmental affairs leader. I mean, some of the other leaders, Lori Stryker, Louis Vassat was one of my huge mentors. But I just, all of these wonderful people that I was able to work very closely with and have, be mentors in large part and do some pretty extraordinary things. So one of the things that I'm most proud of is beginning this huge task force of students, employees, and community leaders to build a vision for a new Marshall Center, a new student union on campus.
Wow.
And so they created a plan for that. And then my dear friend, Mike Griffin, became student body president. And I've got a great story about the first time I met him a few years later. And then he secured the funding to make it happen. And now that beautiful building, the Phyllis P. Marshall Center that we have on campus today, was because of work that we did, decades ago. So it's really cool to see like things that you had a vision for and that you worked for with others come to fruition, even after you're gone.
So I have a question. These are all kind of evolutionary things in your life or in anybody's life. Where do you get out of bed one morning saying, we need a new student center? Was that a like a gotcha moment, or was it something that's everybody was sitting around going, man, this place, if we're ever going to be, tell me how that happens.
It really is just having my experience there, being a student there, and seeing there's just the sore need to have more space. And if we were going to become a premier university, no longer a commuter school, or have that reputation, I should say, or that perception, we really did need a world-class student union that would bring our everybody together in big, important ways. And also, the other big project that I worked on was Greek housing.
Yeah, that's huge.
I mean, those two things, and just to have those buildings, that's where community is strengthened. That's where student life happens, and they're critical, absolutely critical for a university to grow and thrive. So for me, just seeing that our student union was, we had already outgrown it in a huge ways, and we were well past the time of having some vision for what our next steps were going to be. And we had to create that plan now.
So you're still active with USF, yes?
Oh, yes, very active.
And I'm going to ask you probably a loaded question. I went to the University of Florida. Probably one of the biggest things at the University of Florida that USF adopted a number of years ago, but it certainly defines alumni money, it defines everything about that school, is guess what?
Greek life or Florida Blue Key?
Well, Florida Blue Key's a leadership deal,
Yeah.
but Gator football.
Gator football, yeah.
I mean, I got to tell you, that
Absolutely.
stadium, the season tickets,
Yes.
and the alumni they drive. We
I don't know why I didn't think football.
No, I mean, you could make a joke that's like, really?
Yeah.
But I can tell you, growing up in Polk County, and all the, my first boss was Scott Linder. And he was one of the original Bull Gators. I mean, original 5 Bull Gators. And, we had season tickets, and the Gator football was, it was like a ritual. You drove up there and, but it kept, what I saw with it, it kept Gators tied to that university in a very, I guess, unique way. Maybe some would argue not the right way. But
I completely agree. And growing up, like the first thing that you think about with universities that you've never heard of or attended, the Miami Hurricanes were really big when I was in high school. The Florida Gators, of course. I actually applied to Florida. I got in. I just chose not to go there. But
you can't. We all make mistakes.
Right.
I should take that back.
Okay. You're right. So, a really strong athletics program is critical to the success of a university. I could not agree more to that end. And it was, again, it's one of those things that I'll never forget, is attending the first ever USF football game in the old Sombrero. This is before the new Raymond James Stadium.
Right.
Like, I got to do those things. That's just really, really cool.
Yeah, I know a lot of the USF alumni here locally, and a number of them that are in my age group. And I can see all the alumni that are at this age group that I'm in now that are successful, and they're kind of trying to create their legacies and trying to figure out, their places. And I keep wondering are we going to see a stadium out at USF? And my bet is, and I have no dog in the fight, I'm just sitting to stir any of our listeners up, but my bet is we'll see a stadium at USF one day like UF. And
I agree with you 1,000%.
And I think that'll anchor that I know the alumni group I know, we all grew up broke, but now they're all successful, and there's and like, how many students are at USF now?
Oh my gosh, I think it's over 50,000 students. I don't know I'm not up on my USF stats, but I think it's one of the largest institutions. I think it's in the state of Florida, enrollment wise.
It's the second largest.
I think UCF is number one.
UCF's the biggest school. But to your point, so now you're student body president. You've done these cool things. You've anchored this community center or student union program, and now you get to cross the stage and grab that diploma. Mm-hmm. What was that like? And when you walked off that stage, did you go OMG, or what happened?
It was really, I did go OMG. Like I graduated at the .com bust. So with a communications degree, and so it wasn't really easy to find a job, but I actually postponed my entrance into the workplace by what I did was I walked in December of 1999, didn't officially graduate, but you could do that. Like you can walk, and had that whole, pomp and circumstance and the really cool experience of graduating college. But then I studied abroad in Spain for 5 months, or actually 5.5 months in Sevilla. And I got a minor in international studies.
I bet you did.
Through that experience.
I think in our next segment, we're going to be talking about the minor in international studies in Spain. Mom, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Wow. Well, we're going to finish up this segment, and in our third segment, we're going to talk about studying abroad, that graduating, and then the next roads of the journey. I tell you what, Jessica, I'm just so happy you came on today. And again, the big benefit to me is learning people's journeys and finding out we've all kind of been on similar crazy journeys, and it's so cool. Now, I want to remind our listeners again, if you haven't sent in that help@adjunctceo.com for either questions or thoughts for any of our guests, or for that $10,000 CEO physical. I'm telling you, the folks that have taken that $10,000 free physical with our adjunct CEOs come out and help them. It's eye-opening. And again, it's designed to kind of show you your blind spots. It's not anything that you're a bad CEO or bad business owner is just an advantage. You can have another arrow in your quiver for success. And, the Adjunct CEO Hour or the CEO Hour we bring every week to have people like Jessica on. So in the third segment, we're going to learn about Jessica's overseas studies. Can't wait till the third segment. See you then.
Helping established CEOs and entrepreneurs. The CEO Hour continues in a moment. Connect with Dean Akers at deanakers.com. Welcome back to the CEO Hour with Dean Akers. Connect at deanakers.com. And now your host, Dean Akers.
Well, welcome to the third segment of the CEO Hour. This is Dean Akers, your host of the CEO Hour and the Adjunct CEO. Today we have Jessica Muroff, the CEO of Girl Scouts of West Central Florida, as a guest. But I'm just taken aback because, again, the journeys that I get to experience with our guests is just mind-blowing to me. And it's so cool because here's what our listeners should be learning. We're all on a journey. Every one of us are on a journey. Don't get too discouraged where you are today. Don't overthink where you're going to be tomorrow. Just make sure every day you do what's right. Try to get out of bed and help somebody else. And I think it kind of all works out. So Jessica's going to tell us how when she graduated at the .com bus and jobs were scarce, she decided that she might further her education overseas. Jessica, tell me more about that.
Well, it was a fantastic experience. I lived in Sevilla, Spain, which is in Andalusia in southern Spain. It's a beautiful, beautiful town. It's the third largest city in Spain. And I lived with in the home of a retired professional flamenco dancer. She had a dance studio in her basement. And I took classes. I took business classes and language classes and culture classes at a university over there. It was fantastic. And it was just, it's the first time in my life where I haven't had to work and go to school. And so that in and of itself was just a treat and a blessing beyond belief. I got some scholarships and my parents helped me, and I saved money to be able to go over there and do that. And I learned Sevillanas, which is their native flamenco, and that they dance in the bars and at La Feria, their big festival in April. I completely immersed myself in the culture and the language. I traveled all over Europe, did things that if my daughters did today, I would kill them, just because our world has changed so much that it's just, I would meet people in different countries and go to their houses for dinner. There's some level of, safety, I think, that these days that you have to consider and keep in mind. But, back then I was just young and fearless and was just completely immersing myself in that city, in that culture, and just living life by every moment and enjoying it. It was fantastic.
So do you still speak Spanish?
No, because I don't use, I can read it. And hear it better than I think my confidence is just down. And I'm sure if I immersed myself again, the wheels would start turning in my brain. But because I don't use it at all or very often at all, you lose it.
I gotta ask you a question, and maybe this is a touchy subject for people, especially our listeners. But I work with a lot of kids, and I work with a lot of kids that their parents are frustrated with them. My kid doesn't have drive. I hear all this crap about millennials. And quite frankly, I do my number one podcast. I do a podcast each week. My number one podcast worldwide, 135 countries, is Millennials, the greatest generation ever, as told by a baby boomer. And I can take non-anecdotal facts and prove that.
Yeah, they're great.
And so what the irony is, and I heard you when you were talking about your daughters and this and that, I'm a big, what is it that, I forget, Senator Patrick Moynihan or Representative Pat said, everybody's entitled to their own opinions, but you're not entitled to your own facts.
Right.
So I'm a fact freak, and I go back and I look at data points of different things that have happened, murders, different things. And it really is not as bad today. In other words, people say it's a lot worse today. It actually is less worse today than it was 30 years ago.
Right.
Just stat-wise, per 10,000 and all that stuff. So what happens is we're just immersed with the visibility of it. And so I wonder sometimes.
That's a great perspective shift.
Yeah, and so I wonder sometimes if we sometimes have to go back and trust what really is going on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody's not shooting everybody every day in a car everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I'm a stat freak because I love deep diving, and when I work with these young people, sometimes they're being told things that just aren't true. And when we find it, we help them develop their passions. So now you've gone to school, you've traveled, you're back. I just got to believe you're a very passionate person about anything you tackle, whether it was a student body president that anchors a deal to open up a student center. I just got to believe you're passionate about anything you tackle. Would that be a fair assessment?
Absolutely, yes.
So now you've finished being a lot smarter by being in Europe. And, you know, at the break, we were talking about one of my nieces, and she just graduated 4 years at FSU, and now she's in Thailand for 6 weeks, or that whole area, you know, riding on elephants and scuba diving and everything. She probably learned more than she ever did in college. But so now you're transitioning. You're back from Europe. You land. You're home. You probably go to your house. Now what happens in Jessica's journey?
I go back to school and get my master's degree in education. You know, thinking that you know, again, my passion for youth and wanting them to be successful would benefit there. And I got an internship at the Southwest Florida Water Management District during my master's degree, doing in-school education and managing grants. And then when I graduated, I actually didn't go into the classroom. I went and worked at SwiftMud in their in-school education department, managing classroom grants and doing communications for, you know, kids, parents, and teachers. And it was a great job. I really loved it. But the 60-mile commute each way was just too much for me. And that's when I went and made the shift in using my communications background and working at a water management district to go work at an ad agency for Roberts Communications and Deanne Roberts.
Yeah.
And she is one of those people who changed my life in huge ways. I met her through my mentor, Barbara Ann Blue, who was my mentor through College Leadership Florida. And it was just a one of the best career decisions I made to go work for Deanne and her incredible agency, now run by Colleen Chappell, who is, she's just incredible. And now it's Chappell Roberts and has grown the agency, you know, exponentially. But it was a really amazing experience to go into the ad agency world. And the best formative place that I could have ever learned that is that Chappell Roberts, or what was Roberts Communications. I then went to Raymond.
Can I stop you there?
Yeah.
Tell me, so it was the most informative learning. Give me a couple bullets of what you learned that you're able to carry on by being in that environment.
So, I mean, to get real technical, you know, client service and strategy was one of the bigger things. We did a lot of work on the brand strategy services that Roberts Communications was providing companies.
But take the we word out for a second. What is the Jessica word? In other words, when Jessica was there and she left, what did Jessica take away from there? Not we did. I took away. I know you don't use the I word and you're a rock star leader by not using it, but I'm really curious as to the material takeaways that might help our listeners in that piece of your journey, because it clearly, your involvement at USF will help our listeners to know that when you're involved, you can make things happen.
Absolutely.
Now you're in an agency.
Yep.
And so give me some things that may help a listener out there of stuff you learned in your first real career choice.
Well, truly, I think it was servicing clients. It was how to service your clients and the best ways to retain them and keep them and to grow the services that you were providing them. I think just the basic operations of an agency, and then also the brand work that we did, because really brand strategy was really gaining momentum and steam at that time. Now it's ubiquitous, but how we looked at that overall brand strategy outside of just marketing or communications for our clients. And so that was huge for me. And I took all of that with me, the strength and the power and the importance of your brand and so brand is, we all have one personally and companies have one. And so for me, learning about the power and importance and how to build a really strong brand started at Chappell Roberts and Roberts Communications.
Well, that's cool. And you made a point there that I spent with my ninjas. I have this group of ninjas I work with all the time. They're rock stars. And we talk about branding. And the big brand we talk about is the brand of you. Mm-hmm. And how important is that for our listeners to really understand that they really own their own brand too?
Absolutely. Anything that it's your word choice. My husband makes fun of me all the time because I'm so particular about choice of words, because I think language is incredibly powerful. It's our word choice. It's what we post on social media. We have to be very deliberate and thoughtful about what we want to share. I'm not saying be fake at all. Right. But there's certain things that I would choose not to have a conversation on social media about. I would rather share, things that are important to me, that I'm passionate about, that I love. And so, I think that we have to be very cognizant of our public, our digital footprint that we're leaving, and how people see us on the outside, even though there's so much more underneath all of that people should get to know, not make assumptions about. But we have absolute, almost 100% complete control on what we put out there that others see.
Well, we're going to go into the fourth segment. And when we hit that fourth segment, we're going to talk about that brand choicing. Again, I'm Dean Akers, your host of the CEO Hour. And we come to you every week with an impactful CEO in the Tampa Bay community. We have Jessica Muroff with us today, CEO of the Girl Scouts. And in the next and final segment, we're going to really bring her journey to an epicenter of the things she's really learned and the things she's going to help you with. Well, we're going to move into segment 4. Again, thank you, Jessica, for segment 3. This is Dean Akers, your host of the CEO Hour. We'll see you in the next segment.
Success never takes the weekend off. The CEO Hour continues in a moment. Growth begins by understanding where you are now. For a limited time, business growth experts at Adjunct CEO will provide a full CEO physical of your business valued at $10,000 for free. Email ceophysical@adjunctceo.com. This offer includes financial, marketing, and sales analysis and an outline to help you strategize future success. For your free CEO physical, email ceophysical@adjunctceo.com. ceophysical@adjunctceo.com. Florida ranks high as a new hub for business growth and innovation. Startups, restarts, and starting over are all part of the new vitality generated as geography and economic opportunity collide. As Florida's entrepreneurial ecosystem grows, many are using Synapse to grow their business. Synapse is a groundbreaking methodology that connects all personas within the innovation economy, utilizing a method that enables all users to progress in meeting their given needs while promoting much-needed community engagement. Never more than now has Florida presented opportunity to be better aligned in business, providing huge potential for greater overall results with strong collaboration and holistic leadership. Synapse is a growth synthesis platform that will allow you to take advantage and flourish in ways you never thought possible as an entrepreneur, as a business, and within the context of community, events, connections, publishing, all with Synapse. See for yourself at synapsefl.com. That's synapsefl.com. Welcome back to the CEO Hour, helping your business succeed in today's marketplace. Connect at deanakers.com. And now your host, Dean Akers.
Well, welcome to the fourth and final segment of the CEO Hour. This is Dean Akers, your host and adjunct CEO, here today with Jessica Muroff, the CEO of the Girl Scouts of West Central Florida. And I tell you what, the first 3 segments have been awesome, Jessica. I mean, again, my pleasure or my benefit to this whole show is getting to spend time with folks like you and learn the journey. The benefit to our listeners is getting to spend time with you and learn your journey, because everybody thinks we just had this immediate successes, and you're very successful. So let's catch up with what we left off in segment 3.
Awesome. So I was talking about personal branding.
Yeah. we were talking about personal brand, how important it was, and you come out of the Roberts PR firm
Yes.
or advertising firm.
Yes.
And so now we're sitting there talking about that part of your career.
Yes.
And how that helped define your role. So just a few seconds or minutes on personal brand, and then where does your career take you next?
So that was really I think that's what I learned the most at being at Roberts Communications. And then I transitioned over to Raymond James Financial, the financial services firm. They were building an in-house marketing and ad agency, and they wanted me to help them build their account management function. And I worked with Mike White, who's still their chief marketing officer. I have probably learned more about strategy and business and managing and leadership from Mike White than any other person aside. Deanne Roberts is right up there with him in my career. He's fantastic. And I was at Raymond James for nearly 7 years, and it was such a wonderful experience. It's a fantastic firm. Developed a lot of great relationships. I learned a lot about, marketing, strategy, branding, all of that. But I realized I came to a point in time in my career where I knew that I wanted my work to have more meaning and to have more impact in the community. And I thought to myself, and I had young kids at home, and I thought to myself, I think that perhaps the transition to the nonprofit sector might be more fulfilling to me and my heart, and being able to live my passions in my career. And I made that transition. My first job was as the marketing and communications director at Frameworks of Tampa Bay.
What is Frameworks?
It's a nonprofit that develops the social and emotional skills of youth in Hillsborough County.
Wow.
You never heard of them?
No, and I'm involved in everything, I thought, at least helping.
You have
really?
to see what they are doing. Oh, my gosh. So after a year, or even less than a year, actually, not even a year, I transitioned and became their executive director, then CEO. It's a small agency, but it's such a high impact. I mean, they use evidence-based programming in schools K through 12 to develop the social and emotional skills of kids. There could not be one other element or fact, I think, for anybody to build resiliency or to have the skills that they need to be successful in life than to have strong social and emotional intelligence.
Oh, absolutely.
That is everything.
So what's that agency's biggest challenge?
It's just, I think it's their biggest challenge is reaching more students and growing capacity to be able to do that. And so when I was there, we shifted the model. We were a direct service model agency where our staff was delivering program. And we thought to ourselves, we said, well, in order for us to grow, we need to teach the schools how to do this themselves. And so we became more of an indirect service. We're training teachers and administrators on how to deliver these programs, how to deliver the evidence base, because we were the experts in how to deliver it, to help them with efficacy and the research and the surveys, and to make sure that they had, good quality, and that they had the supports needed to expand the program and grow it, and to make changes as they had maybe hit bumps in the road. So we were able to exponentially grow the amount of children we were serving simply by changing our model. And so they work so closely with Hillsborough County Schools. I have to give Hillsborough County Schools so much credit, because they also see the huge need for this and work with Frameworks to deliver these programs to all middle schools in Hillsborough County. There's, I don't know where they're at now in elementary schools, but and then also some high school programming as well.
You know what, Jessica? I'm almost going to bet that when you were growing up, and this is a stretch, but you probably didn't color within the lines. It sounds like in your whole journey, whether it was student body president, champion a new student union, whether it's changing a complete strategy of a nonprofit. And by the way, I've been on nonprofit boards, and to change strategies is almost like an act of God. And to do all those things, it just shows that you're a disruptor in a good way. Mm-hmm. And so now you finished with them. Was that your next career, how you ended up today where you are?
Yes. I read in the business journal that my predecessor in Girl Scouts was promoted to GSUSA. And I thought to myself, my dream job just became available.
Wow. And
so they did a national search, and I put my hat in the ring. And after a 6 months, and it was a grueling process, but what I loved about the process was I think on both sides, we were so confident that like I was confident that this was the right place for me, and they were confident that I was the right person for the role. And so when you have that kind of alignment, that's where magic happens. So I feel very, very, very fortunate and blessed to be able to serve in this role, because Girl Scouts, the organization, is unlike any other. And I frequently say that I'm ruined for life, because I'm not sure that working anywhere else is going to be as exciting as what I am able to do right now, because of the breadth of things that are on my plate and the breadth of opportunities that we offer girls, and the breadth of innovation and things that we do at Girl Scouts is truly almost unmatched.
Well, I think this fits your whole career of where you can take this longtime institution group and kind of keep energizing them, because it's certainly a well-needed service.
Yeah.
And I know the things you do in the community with it. What would be a big tip you would want our listeners to know that your Girl Scout experience, your other experiences, something as a leader that you say, boy, you got to do this?
Oh, wow. Well, I think that you have to really know yourself. I think many times we don't actually take the time to be mindful and understand what our core values are as a person and where we want to head and go. And believe me, in life, that journey, it winds its way, and things change, and we evolve as we experience new things, we learn new things. But I think is starting that journey within and really discovering who we are and who we want to be, and putting that down on paper and being deliberate about achieving that, and really thinking about what kind of legacy do you want to leave in this world? What does that imprint or impact look like? And it's different for everybody. Not everybody has the calling to be the CEO of a nonprofit. Others, want to build businesses. They want to, be a teacher. Everybody's calling is different. But you really, I think, have to go on that inward journey to discover who you are and who you want to be, and then be very deliberate about doing that.
You just gave me my moment. I don't know if the listeners got it, but I would say I'm a big freak for questions, and I help people drill down their businesses, or I help individuals get their lives back on track. And you just made my day today, and this is going in my armament of questions, is what kind of legacy do you want to leave? How powerful of a question is that? Especially when you ask somebody that, and you shut up and you stay shut up and you stare them down, and they start opening up and you still stay shut up and they keep opening up. Jessica, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. I mean, you're a special CEO, but you're also a very special person. Your journey of helping others is unquestionably as big as anybody's, and I know that satisfaction's got to be great for you. In the last couple seconds do you have any parting points you would really like for our listeners to take away from your journey that will help them on their journey?
Sure. So one of my life's mottos is make every day a story worth telling. And so one of the ways that I have seen that I have done this, again, I do a lot of self-reflection in writing, is I put myself out there in experiencing new things in life. And so now I've called this my big challenge. And every year I pick a new challenge for myself. And it helps me to really push myself outside of my comfort zone. That's where growth always occurs. It helps me to experience new and really exciting things in life, which I think for all of us, like we have to be deliberate in chasing those things. Otherwise we become complacent. And so I, last year, my big challenge was to climb a mountain, and we did that. And this year, my big challenge was to perform on stage, improv, and I was just in a staged reading in a play for the Carrollwood Players in May. My next big challenge next year is going to be really, really cool, but I'm still working out the details. But, I think always putting yourself out there to take risks and have these experiences are what make life really special.
I want to tell you, you accomplished your goal today. You made today a story worth telling for me, and I appreciate you coming on the show. Again, thank you very much, Jessica. And again, this is Dean Akers, your host for the CEO Hour and your adjunct CEO, reminding you to tune in every week. We have our $10,000 CEO physical available to you at no charge. You can get it at help@adjunctceo.com. That's help@adjunctceo.com. And again, join us each week when we bring you one of the power CEOs in the Tampa Bay area that can help you with an idea to change your life. Have a great week.
You've been listening to the CEO Hour with Dean Akers, helping businesses and CEOs succeed in today's marketplace. Receive a free CEO physical when you connect with Dean at deanakers.com. That's deanakers.com. Join us again next week for the CEO Hour with Dean Akers.